If there's anything that you'd like me to talk about tonight, something I missed, shout it out.
Food.
What's that?
Food.
Food. Hell yeah, of course. The sustenance of all life. What a divisive topic that is. Fuck yeah. Food in Israel. Of course. That's the, yeah. Food, Israel, and boobs. Okay. I should have like explained the instructions a little better. I'll do one at a time. But now I have to do a food Israel tits joke, okay? Which is crazy, because I was actually sucking on the teat of a cow on the West Bank just last week. So food, are you a culinary guy yourself? No, not at all? You eat that shit, right? So you eat that shit. Keeps you going. What's your favorite food?
Dolma.
Dolma. Are you Middle Eastern as well? Where's your family from?
Iraq.
Iraq? So did you know that shit? That was kind of scary. How did you know he's Iraqi? Are you Homeland Security? Like, what is this? Trust me, he's Iraqi. We've been following him since 2003. He likes dolma, he likes to talk about food. He follows you, but he doesn't know who you are. Any more questions? Here's my card. Are you guys together, just couldn't get seats together, or what? Are you Shia and he's Sunni? Is that how this works, or... The division is real, man. The division is real. We got the Kurds in here. Keep it fucking complacent. Fantastic. So you're Iraqi and you like dolmas. Dolmas, for those of you not familiar, is basically grape leaves. Homeland Security disagrees. Don't talk about those little terrorist missiles. Okay, sorry. So dolmas are not grape leaves?
No.
Okay, what are they then?
Green chard.
Okay, so you now, and you're from Syria, and dolmas are grape leaves. And we have another, I'm sorry, we're 2-1 on this. Green chard.
It's a leafy green.
Green, exactly, thank you. We needed one American to fucking arbitrate this thing. It's a leafy green, you fucking idiot. Just be happy that it's not kale. Next up, is hummus Israeli? Tell us, please. We need to solve this once and for all. Dolmas, you can make them using either grape leaves or green chard. And you roll in them rice, sometimes garbanzo beans, little bits of a tomato and others. I don't know what they fucking put in there, but it's good. What's that? It's delicious, exactly. So try out your dolmas. Go to your local dolma factory. Get you, AKA Costco. Are they selling dolmas in bulk now? Dude, Costco's selling dolmas. We fucking made it, dude. We fucking made it. We got Americans on the street like, I need fucking 300 dolmas. We fucking need a Costco card. It just turned 2025, like a month ago, I think, right? We're in 2025. Just making sure. You never know. Could be AI. And it turned 2025, and as soon as 2025 started, all my friends were sending me memes and videos about how 2025 is a special number. Did any of you see these things? And it was like, I just kept getting the same one over and over. My friend called me up. She's like, Sammy, you'd love this. 2025 is a crazy number. I'm like, why? She's like, because it's just crazy. I'm like, that's good. You're going to have to say more. I'm like, why is it a crazy number? She's like, because it has all these crazy mathematical properties. I'm like, it's called a number. Numbers have properties. She's like, yeah, but did you know that 2025 is a square? I'm like, yes, some numbers are squared. That's something that happens from time to time. She's like, yeah, but it's a perfect square. I'm like, that means it's a square. So, basically the same thing. I would know because I'm a square and I'm perfect. So, thank you. You're too kind. You know, and I was like, I mean, these are all cool, but like numbers have properties. I'm like, did you know that 2024 is divisible by 2? And she's like, really? I'm like, see, you're just easily informed. That's the problem. She's like, but don't you think it's cool? It's 45 squared. Like 45 squared. What does that even mean? I'm like, it means like it's 45 times 45. That's what it means. She's like, but there's got to be like some significance. I'm like, I'm not a astrologer, man. I'm a guy who likes math. She's like, but 45 squared got to mean something. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's like having the 45th of something and then having it again for some reason. I can't think of anything that would possibly relate to. Yeah, math brings the truth sometimes. I'm sure there's some smartass there like, actually, he's 47th now. Fine, then I'll come back and see you in 45 times 47, which is 2115. You're 2115. This joke will make sense. But to be honest, I really have been enjoying MAGA so far. Men arguing over government authority, that's what it stands for. Yeah, it's a lot of arguing. Elon is in the lead right now, President Elon. Or if you want to call him Chancellor, I guess you could call him Chancellor. The dude did a Nazi salute, like straight up. That was a Nazi salute, and this has been verified by Nazis. And I'm gonna listen to the Nazis on this one. That's not something I say very often. But on this one, I'm gonna listen to the Nazis. Now, why he did it, I don't know if he was dog whistling. I don't know if he made a bet with somebody. I don't know what it was, but there's all this weird speculation. Like some people say he full on did a Nazi salute because he's a Nazi. Some people say he's just on the spectrum, which is fair. I think he's both. I mean, I think he's on the Nazi spectrum. I think that's what it is. There is such thing as a Nazi spectrum. And the truth is we're all on it. It doesn't matter. There's two extremes. You're either zero Nazi, okay? Or I don't know which way you guys see this. You're zero Nazi, and then that goes all the way to proud Nazi, okay? And then all the way to full-blown Hitler, you know what I mean? But there's a big distance from point A to point B, and also from point B to point C, you know what I mean? And Elon, he's not A. We for sure know he's not zero Nazi. He's not A. He may or may not be B. I don't know, okay? But I don't think he's quite C, okay? So you could say he's a Nazi. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. But it's been interesting watching, Elon's transition into power, with Doge, Department of Gestures excused. Because, everyone gave him a pass on that, like the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League. They should just change their name to Defamation League because they just talk about people, but gave Elon the pass because he's not a peaceful college protester. So, but yeah, it has been interesting to watch because Elon, he for sure is pulling the strings behind everything because Trump has changed his position on a bunch of things already, and you can see the Elon influence. Like for instance, when it came to the H-1B visas situation, I don't know how you spent your Christmas, but I spent it watching men arguing over government authority. Because Trump has a lot of sound bites that are not too old that show him specifically saying he did not like H-1B visas. Like they're like, the H-1Bs are corrupt, we're gonna get rid of the system. And then all Elon does is like, whisper in his ear a little bit, like tweet, 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 or XXXXXX or whatever. And then Trump changed his whole position. Like he was like, I don't like the H1s, and it was like suddenly he was like, oh, I love the H1s. I have a lot of H1s on my property. I got the H1N1s. I got the bird flu. I got the HVAC. I got the Preparation H, the HIV, the Triple H, all the H's. Where are all these H's coming from? They're leaving their words. They're crossing over the border. They're leaving their words. It's a huge problem. You notice Trump he never pronounces H because he's always miming it with his hands. He's like, it's huge, it's huge. But yeah, Trump totally flipped on that, after Elon, said his thing. And then Vivek Ramaswamy also too. Vivek got kicked out of Doge. That was kind of dope. Because Vivek got kicked out of Doge because he made too long of a tweet, basically, is what happened. I don't know if you guys know Vivek Ramaswamy, but he's, South Asian representation in politics. Listen, to be fair, Vivek does say a bunch of things that I do like, and he also says some things that are just great for comedy, so it works for me. I just wish that he wore sandals because he flip-flops so much. That wasn't racial, so relax, it could have been. But... So Vivek also has recent sound bites where he was like, I don't like H-1Bs, we're going to get rid of it. And then, Elon whispers in his ear, XXXXX. And then Vivek puts out like a 3-page long Twitter post on basically saying that Americans are lazy and we celebrate mediocrity, which I would have been offended as an American, but I only read half of it. Damn, this post is too long, but it was a very out-of-touch post. If you saw it, it was really hilarious, because he opens it by saying, all right, it all comes down to the C word. Culture. Like, leave the jokes to the C words, Vivek, okay? And then he says, in our society, we celebrate the jock and not the math Olympiad, which I took a little personally, like, come on, man, people are coming to the shows. And then he's like, it's because our kids are spending too much time just chilling at the mall. I'm like, who's chilling at the mall in 2025? This isn't the 90s anymore, bro. And then he starts making references. He's like, because we celebrate Zach and Slater from Saved by the Bell. I'm like, who's reading this? I swear to God, the best part when he's like, it's because we put too much focus on Corey from Boy Meets World. I'm like, you talking to millennials and Gen X exclusively at this point? Like, I don't think most people get that reference. Like, Gen Z for sure did not watch Boy Meets World. Gen Z has not even met World. You know what I mean? Like, and they prefer not to identify as boy. Like, Gen Z, like, if Gen Z had a show, it would be They Have Not Met World. You know? But it was just this very long-winded, weird post. But the thing is, when I read the first half, I was like, I don't disagree with this, because yes, there are a lot of hardworking American people, right? Yeah. Okay. See, 3 of them, right? We have 3 of them here, right? So you know who you are if you're a hardworking American, all right? But when you compare ourselves to other really hardworking nations, we don't actually cut it. You know what I mean? Like, if you think you're hardworking as an American, make a friend in China, okay? Like, you're not hardworking, all right? Get on Red Note tonight, okay? Get on Xiaohongshu and make a friend. You guys know Red Note? You guys not on Red Note? Okay. Okay, good. See? You're making hardworking friends. Good. And make a friend in China, and you'll see that they work very hard. Like, if you want to talk about the C word, okay? I think it's because Americans, we too often compare ourselves to Canadians and Europeans. You know what I mean? And Europeans don't really work that hard. They're completely closed on Sundays. Like, go try to order food in Europe on a Sunday. They'd be like, we're closed. You'd be like, are you religious? No, we're closed. And Canadians, bless you, but you work like quarter-day shifts and get free healthcare. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a Canadian friend, text them right now. Be like, are you working? They'll be like, sorry, no. You know what I mean? Like, Canadians don't work as much. Let's face it. Like, even the best job in Canada, even like the highest, even like if you're like the dictator of Canada, even that person's like, I don't want to do this anymore. You know what I mean? That's funny because it's Trudeau. Right. I mean, yeah, like, I guess in the United States we do have a work ethic issue. I mean, it's most exemplified in New Year's resolutions, right? Every year we make New Year's resolutions and we don't follow through. And on December 31st, everyone has a New Year's resolution. January 2nd, it's gone. You don't even remember what it was. Case in point, New Year's Day this year, January 1st, there was 2 terrorist attacks. And then after that, nothing. Like, everybody just gave up on their plans. Bad example, I'm just saying. Like, even ISIS gives up. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know if you guys remember, there were 2 terrorist attacks on January 1st, and they were both terrorist attacks. And the reason I say this is because I have consistent logic. Okay? I don't know if you know this, on January 1st, a man plowed his car into a crowd in New Orleans, killing people. And then also the same day, a man pulled up his Tesla Cybertruck to Trump Hotel in Vegas and exploded it in front of people. These are both terror attacks because a person is using their vehicle to inflict harm on other people. However, the FBI is certain that the one in New Orleans is terrorism, but they're still not sure about the Vegas one. Now, if I could pull you up a picture of the suspects, maybe you could help me figure out why there might be some flagrant reason why they would suggest that one is clearly terrorism and one is not. The Vegas guy was white. I didn't mean to, sorry, spoiler alert, the Vegas guy was white, okay? The FBI thinks it may have been mental health. So, yes, the New Orleans guy had an ISIS flag, but who doesn't nowadays? You know what I mean? Okay? Both of them used their vehicle to inflict harm. The guy in Vegas exploded his vehicle. And they're like, it must be mental health. You know what I mean? It's like, for real, like the guy in New Orleans, he had 3 divorces in the last few years. 3! You're not going to give him 1 mental health shout out? Like, I'm not defending that guy, but if you're gonna say mental health, like, apply it equally, you know what I mean? The crazy thing is both of those guys rented those cars. They were both rentals, and they were both rented from the app Turo. Yeah, so at least we know it's Turoism for sure. We can say that. So it was an act of Turo. But it just sucks that people didn't call out that double standard. And the left didn't help on this one. The left did not help because they're like, well, it was a Trump hotel, it's fine. You know what I mean? It's like, no. Like, call it out. That's both terrorism. And of course, because the guy in Vegas used a Tesla Cybertruck, Elon had to say something. Now, Elon's very good at calming things down on Twitter. By the way, when the H-1B thing happened, Elon is obviously a big fan of H-1Bs. And so when MAGA was arguing about H-1Bs, Elon made a tweet basically saying, he was like, I love H-1Bs. I'm here because of an H-1B, which I don't think is true. But then he's like, and I use H-1Bs. So if you have a problem with this, take a big step back and f yourself in the face. This is the President of the United States talking. You understand? This is not presidential language. He told everyone to take a big step back and f themselves in the face. And at first I was like, well, that's a really hard quote you pulled out. Then I actually looked it up. It's actually a movie quote. Take a big step back and f yourself in the face is a quote from Tropic Thunder, 2008. He quoted a Ben Stiller movie. Which is so ironic because if you know about Tropic Thunder, 2008, maybe not the best year to talk about the economy, but Tropic Thunder, the plot was Ben Stiller and some other actors, they were playing actors who played soldiers in a war movie. And their director wants them to do a better job, so he drops them off in an actual war zone in the jungle so they get real method, And so they're surprised, obviously, and now they're suddenly submerged in a real war, but they're just actors. Which is, I find it very ironic that Elon is using that quote because he's suddenly new to politics. He's like, I make Teslas, but now I'm ruler of the world. Like, okay, fuck yourself in the face. Thanks, Elon. And so he says that. And then, so after the Tesla Cybertruck thing, he comes out and we're like, what is Elon going to say? He's going to tell us to f ourselves in the face, isn't he? And he comes out and he's like, the knucklehead chose the worst vehicle to do a terror attack in. Everybody knows a Cybertruck would contain the explosion, and if anything, direct it upward. And everybody was like, damn. We haven't seen that kind of CEO energy before. Like, to be honest, like, people were very upset about that thing. Like, wow, I can't believe he said that. Like, I can. Like, it's very it's definitely better than f yourself in the face. Also, like, I think that CEOs should defend their products like that. You know what I mean? But, like, we just have never seen that kind of being forthright, Like, can you imagine if after 9/11, the CEO of Boeing just came out on, like, not Twitter at the time, because I don't know, AOL chat, I guess, and just came out and was like, the 757 is the worst aircraft to fly into a building. You kidding me? It explodes on impact. What a bad idea. It's flimsy. It's flimsy. It's bad. It's gonna crash. I was in one the other day. It's a bad idea. You're gonna find out about this in like 20 years. Don't worry. It's a bad idea. Or like after the Boston Marathon bombing, the mayor of Boston was like, the Boston Marathon's the worst marathon to bomb. The runners don't even want to be here. Or like if after the Benghazi attacks, the then Secretary of State was like, the U.S. Embassy is the worst place to attack in Benghazi. I don't even check my emails. All right, if you don't like that one, I'll delete it. I'll put it on a different server. You'll never find it. Yeah, it's been interesting. I don't have jokes for everything just yet. Like I'm catching up on like the RFK hearings and the Tulsi Gabbard hearing. And the thing is, I watch everything with nuance. I don't like I blanketly side with the left or the right. I don't do none of that. I like to watch with nuance and like do the mathematics. You know what I mean? Because when it comes to RFK, I do agree that America has a health problem and that Big Pharma is a big problem. But like, why is it the guy with brainworms who has to tell us that? You know what I mean? Like how bad is America that the brainworms guy is giving us a lecture on how to be healthy? You know what I mean? Because watching RFK, I'm gonna be honest, it's difficult to listen to him. Like, no slide. Obviously, he's been through a lot, but it's like if you had no idea, if you knew nothing about, if you like knew the basics about the Kennedys, you'd be like, oh, he's the one who got shot in the head. Like, you would have no. What I don't get is that he's made very clear statements about how he feels about the vaccine, and he's totally backpedaling now at the hearings. It's like, dude, if you believe it, just say it. Like, we'll never have a real conversation about these things unless you just say it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they were grilling him hard. Like, Bernie Sanders was like, did you wear the onesie? I don't know if you saw that, but like, RFK was part of a company that made onesies for kids that like were basically telling them to not trust the vaccine. You know, he's like, did you make this onesie that said Fauci lied, people died, or whatever it was? And it was just very intense. And then, but he kind of backpedaled the whole thing. So I was just like, all right, this is going nowhere. It's just like, I need people to like say definitive things so I can make good jokes. You know what I mean? So this was not a good week for that. Oh, actually, no, there was something good. Did you guys hear about the Gaza condom situation? Yeah. So a few days ago, the Trump administration put out a statement that said under Biden, $50 million of condoms were sent to Gaza. Okay? Which is a wild statement to make. Okay? Now, at first glance, you're like, okay, this sounds like something Biden would have done mistakenly. You know what I mean? Like, people do have to check his work, you know what I mean? You could see that conversation with Netanyahu. Netanyahu's like, yeah, there's no, what did Netanyahu said? There's no innocent Gaza. And then Biden's like, condoms. Like, what? Give them all condoms. But the Trump administration made this statement that $50 million of condoms were sent to Gaza, and there's no evidence to back that statement. There's been no proof to suggest that statement happened. There's speculation. And this sounds much more likely that the condoms were sent to Gaza, which is a province or a region in Mozambique. Where they actually do send aid already. So that actually might make sense that they were sending it to Gaza, Mozambique, and then the Trump administration didn't just check the geography on that. You know what I mean? Which is kind of an important note before you just go out there and say it. But it's not like America would know the difference. You know what I mean? You tell Americans, you're like, we gave condoms to Gaza. They're like, Gaza? Where's that? They're like, you haven't been watching the news the last 2 years? Like, oh yeah, that place. And like, well, actually it was in Mozambique. Like, is that inside of Gaza? Like, okay, well. So it's not like explaining geography to Americans would help this. But yeah, I think that sounds more like, because at first glance to me, when I heard they sent $50 million of condoms to Gaza, my first thought was like, yo, trust me, I know Palestinians do not use condoms, okay? Like, trust me, right? Trust me. Trust me. We prefer, listen, Palestinians do not use condoms. Look at their population growth. That is not something you get with the use of condoms. Gazans need to multiply. That is their strategy to counter genocide, okay? Okay? Condoms or contraceptives are another form of genocide for Palestinians. You have to watch out. Yeah. If anything, Israel wants them to have the condoms. Israel's like, yes, give them $50 million worth of condoms. The administration started putting out these statements that, the $50 million worth of condoms went to Gaza, and then Hamas used them for weapons. Basically saying Hamas was making condom balloons to launch at Israel. That's like kind of a bold statement. Trump probably said it. He's like, Hamas, they're using the birth control pills, they're using the condom, the IUDs. It's a whole artillery. It's called Plan B. But it's like, you know what? Call me old-fashioned. I think the whole Israel-Palestine situation could be solved if the Israeli occupation just pulled out. Trust me, that never fails. Tried and true. Your grandparents used it.
Joseph Biden, Karen Bass, Gavin Newsom, James Woods, Smokey the Bear. It's all y'all mother fault. I lived in LA for 15 years. And one person. All right, cool. Yeah, thank you. That's usually the vibe in Northern California. Not a lot of enthusiasm for LA. I know, it sucks. There's always been this NorCal-SoCal rivalry, but it's really just NorCal hating on SoCal. It really is. You go to SoCal and you're like, hey, what do you think about NorCal? They're like, oh, I love it. It's a great place. It's really cool to visit. And then you go to NorCal, you're like, what about LA? You're like, those motherfuckers, dude. They think they're so cool, dude. I'm from NorCal. I'm hella better than them. And you go to SoCal, they're like, yeah, they're cool. They say hello a lot, but they're cool. And so I lived in LA for 15 years, and finally last year I gave up my lease. I was in the same apartment in Studio City. Studio City is where I live. Studio City, they call it Studio City because it has a lot of studio apartments, which is like, it's the only city named after why you're broke. Like, I've never heard of one bed, one bath village. I've never heard of the guest house district, but Studio City is where it's at. I lived there for 15 years, and the apartment, I just found out that the apartment that I used to live in is under evacuation right now because of one of many fires that are nearby it. And it's really sad. And so I was just reminiscing on how much I loved that place. And I remember, like, when I left, I literally shed a tear because I loved being there so much. It had this beautiful view of the mountains, and people in that neighborhood were so chill. Like, it was interesting too, because I lived on this corner where it was like, one neighborhood was like all Armenian, one neighborhood was all Jewish. It was basically like if Jerusalem had Mexicans, you know what I mean? It was like, it was like if you put Jerusalem inside of Mexico, it would have been, that's how it felt. And I love that neighborhood. And I remember when I left, the day I packed up and left my apartment was September 21st. I remember because I turned on that song, do you remember the 21st night of September? And I reminisced, but I'm like, oh, not a great time to talk about Earth, Wind, and Fire. So I'm going to talk about the LA fires for like 20 minutes. I'm sorry. It's my issue with this is that this fire is becoming highly divisive, which is really sad because, you know, people are actually really suffering down there. And I lived in LA for 15 years, so like half of my friends in this industry are in Los Angeles, and some of them have lost their homes. It's a horrible situation, and I'm like checking in with them. I'm seeing who's okay, seeing who's evacuating right now, and definitely not helping LA's homeless problem. But listen, okay, so... And now I have so many friends who are affected, like I can't even use the fire emoji, it's insensitive. So there's a lot of problems. But I'm making it about me. I shouldn't do that. A lot of people are suffering, and this is why I wrote notes, because I'm like, if they don't like it, I'm gonna have to move on very quickly. You're gonna okay. If this goes well, you're gonna see it on YouTube in a few days, and you're gonna be like, we were there. And if it doesn't go well, you're gonna be like, oh wow, we really missed out on that opportunity. No, seriously, if this doesn't go well, I'm gonna have to do it in Bakersfield in 2 days. So, oh yeah, now the competition's on, huh? You're like, we will not let the Central Valley win. Even though you're kind of in it, but you're kind of... I know that's a very sensitive subject in SAC. Like, we're not the Central Valley. Like, motherfucker, you're in the valley. It is in the center of the state. You're in the Central Valley. You're like, we do politics. We don't farm. We tell the farmers what to do. But I wanted to do this material, and specifically in Sacramento, because it has to do with this, man. It has to do with this, man. Because, you know, naturally when something bad happens, we look to something or someone to blame, right? It's human nature. We want to blame something. And I still identify as an LA person. I lived there for 15 years. So as an LA person, this is really tough because Mercury retrograde ended like 3 weeks ago. So we can't blame the stars. You know? ISIS has not claimed responsibility yet. It's really tough. And then there's people around the United States who are like blaming Californians. You know, they're like lumping us all in on this. You know, they're saying like, oh, it's karma. The fires are karma because they vote for Kamala every time or whatever they think, you know, like whatever they think it is about us. You know, because they have such good weather, it's karma. You know, I don't know. It's such a lame take, dude. Like, first of all, no state is exempt from natural disasters. There's literally no state. I looked it up. Like, most places in the world have some kind of imminent natural disaster coming to them. Ironically, the two safest places in the world are Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Which are, yeah, super safe. Which is kind of ironic, because if you know about like the history of like terrorism, I'm gonna use air quotes, terrorism and like where our traditional known terrorists came from, it was all because of seeds that started in Saudi or Qatar. And so it's funny because like that's how bored they get there. You know what I mean? That they're like, oh, zero crime rate, no natural disaster, like let's stir something up a little bit, you know? So most places have natural disasters, and every state in the United States is subject to its own natural disaster. So the moment you say like a state deserves this, like that's a f***ed up thing to say. Like people are going to have their hurricanes, their floods, their fires. I will accept that all states are f***ed or no states are f***ed. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to say that one state has karma, you have to agree all states have bad karma. And I would say that's probably the case. You know what I mean? Because if you look at what happened to indigenous people in this country, I don't know if you guys know about this in Sacramento, but there were indigenous people in this country before we got here, before they even found the gold, if you believe it or not. And so the indigenous people were here, and basically in some shape or form they all got displaced or killed, and some of them displaced multiple times. You know what I mean? So if you were an indigenous person who lived here before the United States was settled, you were displaced at least once. We know this, at least once. So there's probably a stat out there that shows that most people in the United States at some point will be displaced because of a natural disaster. If it's, and I assure you, it's probably not more than one. It's probably just one. Everybody averages one or less. So you're getting a good deal, dude, is what I'm saying. So it's collective karma. We're all equally. If you're in a state and you think another state has bad karma, not you, you're on fentanyl for sure. And that's most states as well, actually. So one of my friends in Texas, he's like, yeah, California is what you get. You think you're all smug. Now the fires are burning. Like, well, this whole fire is just making more Texans. I don't know if you know that. So the Texodus is beginning. All right. Take these one at a time, guys. Hopefully Bakersfield doesn't like them better. We need something to blame. And so naturally, a lot of people blame the climate. People are like, it's the climate. Like, well, you're just going to go to war against the climate? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to fight a volcano today. I'm just going to fight the element of fire, you know? People are like, no, it's climate change. Like, okay. You know, I do believe in climate change. I think climate change is more complex than we even know. I think part of it is cyclical and a lot of it is man-made. Human-made. They made. It is gender-neutrally made. Climate change. Okay? So I do believe that climate change exists, but it's like that doesn't mean that we can't just do nothing about what happens because of it. You know what I mean? Like, we gotta do something while these disasters are happening. You know what I'm saying? And so these you know what I'm saying? These people get upset if you start to blame the government. Like, it's not the government. Nobody would have expected there'd be this much wind. In January? Bro, I've lived in California my whole life. January is the windiest month. Like, hands down, there is wind in January. I lived in LA for 15 years. There's a lot of wind in January. Dude, the wind was not out of the blue, okay? Wind comes every winter. That's why it's called winter, okay? Somebody was like, yeah, but nobody would have expected no rain in January. I'm like, we're only 10 days in, dude, okay? Like, You know the last time that LA had no rain the first 10 days of January? Last year, dude. This has been happening for a while. And then now there's stories of arson going around. This may be the case. There may be people out there having started some of these fires. And if that's the case, those people, obviously. But we still got to put the mother out. It doesn't matter if it was wind, PG&E, or a guy with a bottle and fire, with a Molotov cocktail. Put the fire out. And it could have, yeah, it was PG&E for sure. But it for sure was PG&E. But of all the things to blame and not to blame, we all know the firefighters are f***ing heroes. Okay, the firefighters are f***ing heroes. You're not clapping for some reason, you He's like, I lost my spouse to a firefighter. You gotta admit, firefighters are hot. You know what I mean? They're both literally and figuratively. They're very hot. But yes, at some point we do realize there are people to blame, because when these fires happened, I decided to do this wild thing. I decided to Google who's supposed to put out fires. Yeah, and then it says firefighters, obviously. But then you scroll down a little bit more, and apparently on federal lands, the federal government has the responsibility of putting out fires. And federal lands are in every state. I think they're in every state. I don't know, maybe like they're like, we don't want anything here in Missouri, actually, but I'm pretty sure they're in every state. I didn't look that up, I'm sorry. On state lands, it's up to the state. So if it's California state lands, it is up to the state. And if it's what's that? Cal Fire. All right. Are we cheering for it, or are we? Yeah. Because we put it out, right? We put that out. Yeah. Good. Yeah, that's cool. At least we know you can cheer on fires that are done, right? Yeah. Like Campfire 2020. Yeah, dude. We put that out. Yes, on state lands, it is the responsibility of the state. And on private lands, we pay property taxes that fund local fire departments. Okay? That's why it is a local responsibility to put out fires on private property. Now, obviously, firefighters do their best with what they have. Okay? But sometimes there are limitations. The first thing I would do in looking at who's responsible, I would look at the local government, okay? And so in Los Angeles specifically, you have Zionists, a lot of Zionists. It all comes back.
I got you, boo, I
And I'm hoping this piece draws in a general audience. So for those of you general audiences, look up Zionist and enjoy that rabbit hole. So first, I would look at the local government, and there was a lot of problems with putting out this fire. The firefighters were doing their absolute best, but there was limited water reserves in certain areas. There was limited staffing on the firefighters, and so naturally you ask why? Why was this? And then you look at the LA city, which actually does control these parts where these fires are. Not all of them. Certain districts are controlled by certain districts. Okay. I might have to edit this in post and be like, jurisdictions. But the general LA city does in fact control a lot of where these fires are, and there were cuts to the fire budget in the last year. Now I'm going to be very specific and careful when I talk about this, because people have been getting very upset with this narrative that the fire budget was cut in the last year. But it was in fact cut. Okay, it was in fact cut, and it was cut specifically by the mayor's administration, the mayor Karen Bass, who personally I think should resign as mayor. And I would even go so far to say she should resign as a Karen, because say what you will about Karens, at least they get done. Okay. And so Karen Bass in her administration's planning for the budget did in fact cut the fire budget for this fiscal year. Now, a lot of people are upset about this particular statement because they were planning to increase the fire budget as time went on. However, that leaves this year very vulnerable. Like, that is clearly a problem that leadership foresight could have prevented. Like, yes, I'm glad that you're forward thinking and caring about the future, but you have to take care of now too. Can you imagine if you were on a plane, on a flight, and the pilot comes in like,
just want to let you guys know, I am still in training, okay? But, so I actually don't know how to land this thing. But here's the good news. In 2 years from now, I'll be done with my certification, and I'll be better than any pilot you've had previously, okay? So in 2 years from now, this flight will be better than your last flight, for sure. Sorry, your previous flight, because this is your last flight, in fact. So, seatbelts.
you got to take care of now, you know? And so there's a lot of people defending the local and state governments. And it's interesting. It's almost like, it feels like propaganda. It feels like propaganda is being spread so that we don't actually look at who's culpable for these fires, which is ironic. I wish propaganda was made of water, because it's the one thing that actually spreads faster than wildfire. And so the local administration, they did what you would expect from any government. They blamed federal and state. They said, we didn't get proper funding from federal, we didn't get proper funding from state. So now let's look at state, okay? Let's look at state. Gavin Newsom, okay? Gavin, our boy Gavin Newsom, okay? Listen. Say what you want about Gavin Newsom, okay? During COVID, he threw the best parties. And I was there, masks off, having a good time. Okay? But Gavin, man of the people. Man of the people who's named Gavin. Not a very, Gavin is a very rich name, you know what I mean? Nobody's ever like, my boy Gavin and I, no, it's more like me and Gavin are going wine tasting. Gavin. So Gavin flies down to LA and does like a photo shoot in front of burning houses. Totally unnecessary. I get it. Show solidarity with the people, but like it was so staged. He just like find a burning house, and I'll get in front and I'll put on my hat. And Gavin Newsom has like a very raspy voice, which doesn't really help like this situation, because we're like, we need more water, and so do you. You know what I mean?
We're gonna put out these fires. We're here. We're gonna put out the fires. That's what we're gonna do.
It was funny because I think this was on CNN. I think it was Anderson Cooper was there. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper was like, hey, Gavin, why is there no water in this fire hydrant? He's like, well, that's a local thing, obviously. Just like threw it off to the locals, you know? And then he also had mentioned that we didn't have enough federal funding. So then now we look to the federal level. Turn away. Sorry for bothering you. We look at the federal level, and ultimately the federal government is in charge of everything. The federal government oversees everything. Ultimately, they are the highest level of responsibility, and obviously we want a leader who we can look to solve our biggest and most urgent problems. And fortunately, we have Joseph Biden in the White House. He's still there. That's crazy that he's still there. Like, it's, you know, say what you will about Genocide Joe, but he's still alive. That guy's still alive. But obviously, you know, put your politics aside for a moment and pray for the best and hope that your president does the right thing. You know what I mean? So he does a press conference with Gavin Newsom. They get together, they do a press conference, and everybody's like, please, Biden, you're going to help the fires. Please. Thank you. We're waiting for you. Please. And then he gets on stage. He's like, I just became the first president great-grandfather. Like, what the f*** are you talking about? We do not give a that you are a great-grandfather right now. We need you to put out fires, not talk about how your grandchildren are out there making babies, okay? Don't remind us how old you are in the time that we need you the most. He literally did. He literally came out. He's like, I'm the first president who's a great-grandfather. Like, cool. Not a time for milestones, okay? Unfortunately, Biden came through with $8 billion to fight the fires in California. But I'm sorry, that was actually for Israel to fight hospitals. Actually, it was, basically, Biden, I do believe, has released some federal funds to the cause, which is good. But he also made some jabs at state and local, saying that, hey, it's not entirely on us. And then obviously Trump, the incoming president, was like, it's all Gavin Newsom. So it's like, okay, cool. Federal blames state and local. State blames federal and local. Local blames federal and state. So basically, it's all y'all mother fault. You know what I mean? It's all y'all mother fault. It's clearly you're just playing a finger pointing. Oh no, it was me. It was me. It was me. It was me. Like, it's all y'all mother fault. Okay. Now, of course, people want to hold the people of LA responsible too. Listen, I get it. Yes, if you live in a fire-prone area, you probably want to do your best to prevent your specific house from getting caught on fire. But ultimately, Google whose responsibility it is to prevent and manage forest fires. It is the government, dude. It is the government. And you probably think back to Smokey the Bear, right? Growing up, Smokey the Bear was an icon, and he got on screen every time. He looked straight kids in the eye, and he was like, only you can prevent forest fires. And it was like, me? Me? I'm the chosen one? I'm the chosen one to prevent forest fires. I'm 4 years old. I've never even been to a forest by myself, and I can prevent forest fires. And now looking back, you realize that was propaganda. That was propaganda. That was them saying, hey, do our job for us. And yes, every person should be aware of how to not start a fire. Obviously, that's a good thing to do. But like Smokey the Bear was designed to be like, hey, it's on you if there's a fire. And we never questioned how weird that was anyways. Smokey the Bear was a bear who just wore pants and a hat. No shirt, just full on grizzly chest. Full-on grizzly chest, and then just pants and no shirt. He was like an inverse Winnie the Pooh. You know what I mean? He was like an inverse. Remember Winnie the Pooh had the f***ing shirt and no pants? But then his cousin Smokey somehow a little more presentable and responsible. And so then naturally, everybody wants to blame the insurance agencies. And listen, insurance agencies are not trustworthy. They're sharks, but they're businesses. They operate as businesses. You always have to keep in mind businesses are businesses, and insurance is a business. They're trying to make a profit. The principle of insurance is, hey, you're going to pay me every month, and if something happens to you, I'm going to give you the least amount of money possible. And you're like, well, that sounds like a great deal. Sign. It's really on us for trusting insurance agencies, but I get it. You got to have insurance nowadays. But recently, a bunch of insurance agencies pulled out fire insurance for these LA properties. But like they were just making a business decision that made sense for them. It would have been insane for them to say, but like a lot of them pulled out. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is gone. You know what I mean? Like. But I'll tell you what, fire insurance CEOs, they're scared of shit right now. They're like looking around. They're like extra security. Like, is that guy a Mario? I can't. No Marios. No Luigis. The bottom line is, as people watching this happen to others, you gotta have empathy, man. Losing your home sucks, dude. Losing your home sucks. Whether you're in Palisades or Palestine, losing your home sucks. I feel so sorry for the people in LA right now, you know? It's like, y'all are Palestinians now. You know what I mean? Like, losing a home is a shared struggle. I have a adopted little brother in Gaza, and he messaged me because he knows that I'm back and forth between LA, and he's like, I'm worried about you. Is everything okay? And I'm like, I'm fine, but I have friends who all lost their homes. He's like, I feel very bad for them. I share their pain with them. This is a guy who lost his home 12 times in the last year. And so if you've been through it, you get it. You got to have empathy for people. Now, obviously, occasionally there's a person who something bad happens to them and you're like, yeah, like yes, it's a human thing. It's a human thing. And yes, with like big Hollywood people, there might be someone you don't like. Specifically, there was an incident, big Hollywood guy, James Woods, James Woods, you guys are fans? James Woods, well, let's be honest, Woods, kind of a flammable name already, you know what I mean? Like, it's already in dangerous territories, you know what I mean? His house burned down. Listen, humanity, you gotta remember that sucks, okay? Somebody loses their house. You do look back at some of his tweets, and he said some of the worst about Gaza. He said, bomb them all. No mercy, bomb them all. And people argued with him. He'd call them, you, Hamas supporter. Go harder. He said, no surrender. Israel will keep going. But it's like, you got to have sympathy for that guy, too. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he lost his home, and like part of me wants to just like whisper in his ear, like, now you probably want a ceasefire. Like, you know, like, yes. But you have to have empathy for people. We want this fire to stop. We want these fires to end, okay? From the 405 to the sea, Palisades will be free from fire. Now, obviously, people get upset when I make jokes on these current event topics. They're like, why do you make jokes during a tragedy? Why are you just gonna go make jokes during a tragedy? I'm like, what? Do you know me? Why do I make jokes during a tragedy? I only make jokes during a tragedy. That's the only time I make jokes, because life is tragic and we have to process it somehow, okay? It's about the choices you make in those jokes that matter, okay? And my thing is, I like to be solutions oriented, okay? My name is Sammy Obeid. It's my initials, solutions oriented, okay? I always like to think, how are we gonna stop this, okay? Because this fire should not be tearing us apart. It should be bringing us together. That's what fires do. A campfire, we sit all around a campfire, roast marshmallows, roast each other a little bit, you know what I mean? Fires should be bringing us together. They should not be tearing us apart. But we gotta stop them, and we gotta make this about everyone. If you know, you wanna talk about climate change, fine, but how are we going to manage it until we fix it as a global issue? Like, the thing about America is that we have all the weather patterns in the world. They're just in the wrong places. Right? Like every winter, the East Coast fucking freezes, the Midwest freezes, right? The South gets flooded with water. Parts of the middle of the country get flooded with water, and then the West Coast, we're just in a drought, long-term drought, and we're just burning every summer and now winter, just burning. And so it's like we have all the different kinds of weather. We just need to share the love a little bit. You know, how can we mix and match and share the weather? So I thought about it because on the West Coast, we have a lot of sunshine. That's why we have a drought. So we should cover the West Coast in solar panels. Just as many places as we can. The places we don't care about, obviously, Bakersfield, Fresno. Cover them in solar panels. If I was in Bakersfield, I would have said Sacramento. I'm just kidding. I would have said Lodi. But cover the Central Valley in solar panels. Like Nevada should just be one big solar panel, all right? And that's so much heat energy that we can gather up and conduct through a rod. It'll go across the United States to the East Coast and Midwest to warm them up during the winter. It'll be called the Great American Hot Rod. People are gonna vote for this, dude. People are gonna vote for this. Because people always blame us for like, oh, California's taking all of our resources. Like, no, we're giving back. We're giving you the sunshine and the warmth every winter through the Great American Hot Rod, baby. Right? And that will warm places up. And the whole West Coast will participate in this, you know, with Nevada, Utah, Idaho. Anybody who got sun, you're going to conduct through the rod. And it'll go to the West Coast, and it'll go to the East Coast and the Midwest, and it will melt their snow. It'll melt their snow in the winter. And that's going to be a lot of excess water, plus the flooding in the South, right? We collect all of that excess water through a massive drainage system, okay? Funnel it into a duct, an aqueduct, run it back across the country to the West Coast to feed our crops. And yeah, so we're going to build a duct. Mexico's going to pay for it. We're going to build a duct. And it's going to be, now here's, because some people are not going to be on board with this, right? But here's how we win people over. We're going to build it along the southern border so it doubles as a border and an aqueduct. So we're not building a wall because that's, that's too divisive. You know what I mean? But we build an aqueduct, right? And it's a challenge, because if you really want to get in this country, you got to swim across an aqueduct. But if you can swim across an aqueduct, you deserve to be in this country, dude. Those aren't illegal immigrants. Those are our Olympic gold medal swimmers. Swimming across an aqueduct, okay? And people have already given me shit for this theory. They're like, Sammy, how do you even think water is going to flow? How do you even know water is going to flow from east to west? Because I did the math. I actually looked at the altitude of Houston is about 10 meters above sea level. The altitude of San Diego is about 0 meters. So we got 10 meters of vertical to work with. And you're like, that's not a lot, but using Pythagorean theorem, we can make it work. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. I already got the slogan, duct or we're so yeah. All right, that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much. I love you all. I love you guys so much. I'll be back. Comedy show, not town hall meeting. Not the time. Yeah. Before you say what you say, want to listen to people? Listen to the people. I sympathize with people who don't know a lot about Palestine or Palestinians because, not everybody's born knowing this stuff, okay? I had to learn when I was 10 years old. When I was 10, I asked my grandma, my teta, I said, where are we from? And she said, Palestine, okay? And when you're a kid, you don't know all the words, so I heard what I thought I heard. I thought she said, palace time. Yeah, like the time of palaces. She's like, I'm from Palestine. I'm like, I knew you were old, but not that old. Wow, we're from the time of palaces? So how did we get here? This ain't no palace. And she's like, we left. I'm like, you left Palestine? She's like, we left Palestine. I was like, so you're a time traveler. I always knew I was special, but didn't know why. So for years, people would be like, where are you from? I'd be like, I'm from the past, dude. My family's time travelers, bro. We come from a time long, long ago. The time of palaces. Palestine. They're like, Palestine? I'm like, it's a thing, Google it. And right in front of me, they would just Google Palestine. And it would always pull up what time it is in Wales. And it would be like morning time on the West Coast. They'd be like, bro, it looks like you're from 7:48 p.m. And I'd be like, yeah, but what is that in military time? They'd be like, 1948. Whoa! If you don't get that joke, don't worry. It's because it's from the future. It was written by a time traveler. I think we should drop the name Palestine. It's a colonial name. And I think we should go with Palestine, okay? Palestine is the indigenous way of saying it. It's the Arab way of saying it. The people who want to live in a free Palestine, they call it Palestine. And Palestine is so much of a freer word, okay? You can feel it when you say it, like Palestine. You can feel it in your shoulders. Palestine, you can feel it. It's full. Palestine, right? Palestine, stale, okay? Palestine, free. The only problem is, if we call it Palestine, Americans would then have to pronounce that. And they'd be like, Palestine! Come on, kids, we're heading down to Palestine. It's right next to Pakistan and Afghanistan, all the stands. Shoot, I stand with Palestine. No, Palestine, man. Palestine is a colonial name handed from the Romans through the British, and like many English colonial names, it's stuck, and it's also kind of a confusing name, given the whole situation. Palestine, that's a Jewish name, Did anybody ever notice that? Maybe that's how the confusion started. The Jews met up. They're like, we need a place to go that's safe. Well, that place is called Stein, bro. I don't think it gets any safer than that. It's the Palace of Stein. It's a Jewish palace. Let's head on down. Yeah. And people have the audacity to say that Palestinians don't like Jewish people. Dude, we're from the land of Stein. It doesn't get any more welcoming than that. That stigma needs to stop now. Palestinians love Jewish people, especially when they say free Palestine, okay? Yeah. You get extra points. When a Jewish person says free Palestine, we cream our pants. It's a special moment that we share. Don't, not right now, not right now, not right now. Hilarious. I can feel it. A lot more than Philistine just got free. All right, listen. All right. Too low. It's too early in the night for that. You may have noticed I make jokes for a living. That's what I do. But I understand there's more that can be done. I'm trying to do. Is this for me? Oh, thank you so much. It's free. It's from you. Did you make it? She's like, I work in a rubber factory. This is the Kafia, free Palestine. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yes. We have a question. Yes, what's up? Yes. What is the real solution? You didn't like that one? What is the real solution here? Okay. Well, thank you. Okay, I get it. Thanks for the wristband. It got me VIP into this Q&A. I got VIP access into my own Q&A. Okay. You think? Okay. So yes, I get it. So the the point of the joke, okay, is the irony that nobody knows the solution. Nobody's actually put forth an actual plan that will work. We can all talk and theoretically talk about at the end of the day. Okay. All right. Well, I wasn't at Oslo personally, okay? I wasn't there. I was alive, but I wasn't there, okay? I was 9 years old. Okay? But if they had they invited me, I would have gone. And I would have let them know. I would have said, you know, I am from Palestine. I am a time traveler, okay? And I have been to 2024. I was in Boston on 28th, 2024, where it was asked, finally, once and for all, by a crowd member, what is the actual solution? And I said that to Bill Clinton at Oslo in 1993. And here we are, fast forward. But it's actually, you guys went forward in time, I went back, because you know what I mean? That's about to happen. Because I still have to go back and do that. Yeah. Does that make it any clearer? Yeah. Your basically, the sound of the crowd means your intentions are good, but not the time. Yeah, not the time. You can say something to me after the show. It's just, keep in mind, comedy show, not town hall meeting. Keep in mind, okay? Okay, yes. Comedy show, not town hall meeting, okay? Yes, so great. Meaning, okay? See, there's a more irony for you, okay? The reason why a lot of these solutions that have been put forth by our leaders is that they never reflect the will of the people, right? That they never, are you listening to me? Before you say what you say, want to listen to me first? The irony that the fact that the solutions never have worked or never do tend to work is because the leadership that we have in this world, the many governments we have, they never reflect the will of the people because they don't properly listen to the people. Listen to the people. Listen to the people. All right, so, back to, all right.
But first, the man accused of shooting the United Healthcare CEO, Luigi Mangione.
They hit Luigi with the terrorism charge. Yeah. It's like, what, dude, that's our thing. Come on, that's our thing. You're just giving it to Italians now? Come on. Come on, Italians, you're part of the gang now. You're part of the, yeah, you're part of the compound, okay? Yeah, they're just like, whatever. They look the same, you know? They both use olive oil, you know? That's what they're both from the Mediterranean. It's Mediterranism, whatever, you know what I mean? They're just, now I guess Arab, Italian, we're interchangeable now. So Arabs were mafia too. Yeah. 9/11, forget about it. You know? Okay. All right. I wouldn't call Luigi to terrorism, man. I mean, you could say he had a mission, and he definitely gave up the rest of his life to do that, and it was a violent mission, and he did it, and you know, so you could say it was a Luigi jihad, and he was radicalized by back pain, you know. Allegedly, by the way, allegedly. Yes, I gotta say allegedly. We haven't matched the eyebrows yet. Yeah. You guys all saw there was like footage and then pictures of him. You're like, wait a second, those eyebrows. Can you believe there was even a conversation like, did his eyebrows go back in 3 days? You could only have that question about an Arab or Italian person. That's an exclusively Arab or Italian problem, wondering if the eyebrows possibly grew back between the time of the crime and the time of apprehension. It's for sure a unique olive oil problem. But yes, I noticed this issue has a generational divide, okay? So are there any Gen Z people in here? Gen Z? Okay, one Gen Z people here. What, two? Oh, you guys are raising your hand. What, you think you're gonna be targeted here or some I'm looking around this room, a lot of y'all are young as so obviously there's some Gen Zers here. You're Gen Z. Gen Z loves the Luigi. They already got like Luigi tattoos, right? He's their hero, right? Millennials, we're a little more coy with it. We're like, oh, I see what he did there. Gen X is like, I don't want to be involved in this. I'm just gonna go to my room. And then boomers like, he's a murderer. This is an atrocity. Capitalism makes the world go round. You know what I mean? It's like a big generational divide. Sorry if that offends any boomers who are like, I like him. And listen, I get it. You have a guy who was shot. I'm not glorifying that. I'm just making jokes. And I've already made a bunch of jokes, and people have been getting on my case. One guy commented on my Luigi jokes, like, you know, a wife lost a husband. And I was like, wait a second. I looked it up. Brian Thompson separated from his wife in 2018. Yeah, they weren't even together. They were gonna get divorced eventually. So if anything, this kind of... Let's be honest. In which case does she get a better settlement, right? Let's be honest. If anything, she should be suspect number one. Like, why are we not looking at that? They've been separated for 6 years, at least. That's crazy. And they were likely, obviously, seeing other people. So yes, if anything, a side piece somewhere lost a sugar daddy. And I'm sorry, I feel for that, okay? I once dated a woman who owned her own salon. It was very nice. She would take me out to dinner all the time. And then I lost her because she broke up with me. But that, I can't fully relate, but I get how that could suck, okay? Okay? But yeah, I just don't really buy that argument. Now, somebody hit me with a good one, you know, and this is the one that you hear a lot, and it's a real point. You should take it to heart. And this guy was like, you know, somewhere 2 little children are without a father. And I did look it up. They're 16 and 19. It's a little demeaning to call them little children. Let's be honest, okay? They are nearly grown adults, okay? And it's horrible to lose your father. This is a horrible thing. And furthermore, horrible to hear about like why his father was killed and what he was involved in and all these things that might be haunting them for the rest of their lives. And that's a horrible thing. And I sympathize for those 2 teenagers, wherever they are. I really can't imagine what it is to deal with that kind of pain and grief and suffering. However, they're the only 2 people who would be the reason why I wouldn't make jokes. You know what I'm saying? And I do like to keep people in mind, but you're gonna say, because of two people, I'm not even allowed to cover this topic. You know, as a comedian, my job is to cover the most relevant, sometimes controversial social topics. And you're saying I can't cover this because of two people? That's f***ed up. And you know what that is? That's denial of coverage. So... So I do send my love and condolences to anybody who's actually physically mourning this human being, okay? But I do think we should address the larger topic, which is how f***ed up our healthcare system is. And the symbolism here is that Luigi was 26, and that's right when you're off your family's health insurance, okay? Right? It's not ironic. That's the age that radicalizes people now. You know what I mean? Because that's when life gets real, you know? Because they say you become an adult when you're 18. That's not true anymore. It's when you're 26 now. That's when you're on your own. Yeah, that's when YOLO for real. You know what I mean? Like 18, you just get cooler and cooler rights. They get cooler and then they start to dip off at 26. Like 18, you can smoke, you can vote. Yeah, nicotine democracy. Woo, right? 21, you can drink. Ah! 25, you can rent a car. You're invincible. GTA. Ah! And then 26, off your family's health insurance. It's like, what? You just got me drinking, driving, and smoking. I need that health insurance back, like now. You took it from me at the worst time. It's all by design, to make money. It has to be. So that's why, if I were president, I would like to be a leader who actually cares about people. So what I would do, I would put everybody back on their family plan until they're 65. 65, yeah. I call it the millennial Gen Z solution. 65, all the millennials and Gen Z are on board with this, yeah. Wouldn't you want to be on your family's plan until 65? I think that would be awesome. It would also keep the family unit closer together, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it would be really cool because you're on your family's plan until 65, which means your parents are clearly over 65. Trust me, I did the math. You can double check if you want. If you're on it till 65, your parents are going to be over 65 that whole time, trust me. Which means they will be on Medicare. And so you're just getting Medicare trickled down for free. It's trickle down Medicare. So I basically found a loophole to universal health care. Yeah. So in a nutshell, what I would do is get you off Obamacare and onto Yo Mama Care. Yeah, Yo Mama Care, that's good. But yeah, say what you will about Luigi. It was a Gen Z shooting, for sure. He may have used a 3D printer for the gun. He put ironic Monopoly money in a bag. He got away on an e-bike. It was very Gen Z, okay? I actually wrote a Gen Z poem for Luigi. Do you guys want to hear it? Yeah. Okay, all right. Low-key, it slaps. Trust me, it's bars. Luigi was a good student in Pennsylvania, where he was based. He then lived in Hawaii and got massive glow up until a back surgery got him shook. His book club thought he was tweaking, but he swore he passed the vibe check. So he ghosted. He was low-key salty at the medical industry for being basic. He was tired of all their fees. They were out of pocket. Valid. So he found his op and decided to clap back at the CEO, who was no girl boss, but was rather mid. That's why he did it in Midtown. He used a silencer, no cap. He unalived him, dead ass. He slayed. The CEO is saying less. RIP, 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 say less. But not many are simping for the CEO because he was bougie. It's giving Titanic submarine. But they saw Luigi in the camera, caught in 4K. He was trying to rizz up a queen. and now he's cooked. He took the Greyhound. He was bussin'. Then he got snitched on by a McCarran. They found him at the table. He ate and left no crumbs. Should have hid in the skibbity toilet. If you know, you know. He was wearing the same drip. Should have done a fit check. He had all sorts of currency, but no V-Bucks. And with a manifesto, high-key sus. Free Luigi, the stands say. Boomers cringe. But say what you will, Luigi was tired of being an NPC in a Mario world. So he switched to main character energy. Listen, we've all heard of shootings before, but you gotta admit, this one hits different. Period. All right.
And now that you voted, let's calculate how much it actually mattered. Wait, you voted, right? Sorry, if you have not voted yet, please vote. Then watch this video on how unlikely it was to affect the election. Did I spoil the ending? Turns out voting is like real estate. Location, location, any idiot can do it. Let me reward you with an all-American formula that you'll probably never use because you're an American. The probability that your vote decides the election is equal to the probability that your state's electoral votes are necessary for the winning candidate times the probability the vote in your state is tied conditional on your state's electoral votes being necessary. In the 2016 election, this formula tells us that the average voter in America had a 1 in 54 million chance of being the deciding ballot. That means you're more likely to die from a snake bite than decide which snake is president. But the good news is, you have more of a chance of making a difference in the election than you do winning the Powerball jackpot or the McDonald's Monopoly game. So they just gotta put voting booths in the Mickey D's drive-thru. Straight up. But not all ballots were created equal, despite what our founding fathers said about men, and only men. If you were a voter in a swing state in 2016, you had an approximately 1 in 3 million chance of deciding who the president was with one single vote. Still small, but makes your vote count as much as 21 average Americans combined and over 2,000 times as much as a Californian, which is why it's always Californians reminding people to vote. Overcompensation. Because we believe in equality in the United States of Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Minnesota, Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and of course our nation's capital, Wisconsin. DC stands for the cheese. If you voted in New Mexico in 2008, you had a 1 out of 6,000 chance of flipping the election all by yourself, and a 1 out of 7,000 chance of flipping meth as a chem teacher dying of cancer. And this year, to have the most voting power, you gotta pencil in your vote in Pennsylvania because pencils are what the Amish use. But Sammy, this your vote doesn't count much is a dangerous mentality backed by all that evil logic and simple obvious math. I'm not saying don't vote. I'm just saying if you want to have a say in politics, move to Iowa, the state averaging the most voting power in the past 40 years. Because this nation is already too full of people preaching politics, but at the end of the day, they don't love their candidate as much as their neighborhood. Whee!